What up YouTube, it's your boy Spyromaniac back again with another video, and today we're going to be talking about PoE. Now PoE has gotten a wave of new players, and all of that is because of Diablo. Diablo introduced many new players into the genre, and they found out that it sucked, obviously, so they're trying out PoE. And I'm one of those players. Now I've known about PoE for a while, but I just didn't have the time to play it. Now I've played about 100 hours. I've got a level 75, I think, almost 80 character, and I'm doing pretty good. I really enjoy the game. It's freaking amazing. And PoE 2 is going to be releasing in about like a year and a half, 2 years. I don't know. They still haven't announced the release date, but I think PoE has a major problem, and that's the new player experience. The new player experience in PoE, like, I'll just give it to you straight. It sucks. Okay, they need to make it better for PoE 1 and learn from it for PoE 2. So I have some points that I'll talk about in this video about how they can make it just a bit better, ease players in to the game. And the new player experience basically sucks because the game doesn't teach you anything. It doesn't give you any information about how anything works. No mechanic, like if it's a small mechanic or a big mechanic like betrayal, it doesn't tell you how it works or anything about it. So you're stuck standing there confused, so you have to go to YouTube, and you always need to use online resources in order to understand the game. Now listen, I get the skill tree is complicated and all of that, and builds are complicated. I don't mind going to YouTube for a build guide. I think, like, if you're gonna have a game as complicated as this, you're gonna have to use YouTube for a build guide. But the other mechanics in the game, they should be explained. They shouldn't just be thrown at you. Like, the game is not catered to new players. It's only catered to the old players, and that really needs to change. Okay, let me give you an example. The betrayal mechanic. Does anyone know how the fuck the betrayal mechanic works? Because I've watched a long video on it, and it took me a while to understand it, and let me tell you, the game didn't tell me shit. Nothing. So I went to YouTube and started looking up this mechanic, and I finally kind of figured it out, but not fully. And that just messes up the flow of the game. I'm playing for 5 minutes, and then, oh, it's a new mechanic, I gotta look it up. And then I play for another like 20 minutes. Oh, that's something new. What does that do? The game will not tell me, so I gotta go and look it up. So in the end, I just kept going through the game. I didn't look anything up until, like, I bunched a whole a bunch of mechanics together, and then I looked them up all at once instead of just going, oh, let me look this up. All right, now let me play a little bit. Okay, now let me look this up. No, that sucked. So that's the main problem. I'm having to go through all these hoops just to understand the basics of the game. The game shouldn't be like that. It just disrupts the flow of the game. It doesn't feel really good. I'll say though, when you learn everything and understand everything, the game is amazing, but you still have to learn it and understand it the hard way. Another thing which can improve the game for new players is respecking. It's very difficult to respec, and especially in the early game. Like, if they want to make it difficult for late game, I could see that, but early game you should be able to respec easily and with very little cost, because there are some nutheads that go into PoE saying, I don't need a build guide, I can do this, I can do all of it on my own, and they reach level 50 or level 60 or whatever, maybe even less than that, and their build just bricks, and they can't do anything about it. They go to respec, and oh, you cannot respec, and they feel that, like, all their time is wasted, and they delete the game. I assure you this has happened many times before. So you want to make the respecking easier for the nutheads who think they could make a new character all by themselves in a build. I'll say it's nearly impossible to do that. You need like hundreds of hours, if not thousands, to really understand the game and make your own build. But making respecking easier will definitely help some people out. Now let's talk a bit about affixes, because affixes in this game are pretty confusing, and also they don't explain them. What I mean, like specifically, it's the prefixes and suffixes. You never know what's a prefix and what's a suffix. It's just a bunch of text laid out, and you have to get to know them by just playing the game. But the game has too many affixes, so if you've ever played Last Epoch, it tells you what affixes on an item is a prefix and what affixes are a suffix, and it just makes it easier for crafting and changing affixes and adding affixes. But in PoE, I found myself often confused and just going through the affixes page, and it was a whole mess. I didn't know what was a suffix and what is a prefix, and I still don't know what affixes are suffixes and prefixes. And I've played the game for about 100 hours now, and I still don't know. So they could improve on that pretty easily by just telling you what's a suffix and what's a prefix. I also want to talk about the zones in the game and the maps. When I say maps, I don't mean like end game maps like the Atlas and all of that, but like the story zones and those kind of areas. I found it very confusing. I was often lost trying to find the exit to the zone. I know there are different layouts for different zones, but it was still confusing. Like coming from Last Epoch, it was easier to find your way there to the next zone. I mean, sure, I'd get lost every once in a while, but I'd eventually make it. And like if I'm lost in Last Epoch, I'm only lost for like 10 minutes. If I'm lost in PoE, I'm lost for half an hour, maybe even an hour, just trying to find the freaking exit. And if you'd play the game a lot, you'd know the layouts, and there are speedrunners that just go through it and they know every single layout, and it's pretty easy for them. But we're not talking about the experienced players. We're talking about the new players. A new player won't go in knowing the full layout of everything. So if they could just make the zones a bit less confusing, maybe in PoE 2, I guess, because I don't think they're gonna change this in PoE 1. But this is my personal opinion. Maybe not everyone would agree with this one, but that's just how I feel about it. I also want to talk about trading, and when I say trading, I don't mean trading with other real-life players. I mean like the vendors in-game. You're never told what each item gives you if you trade it. You have to put it in the vendor to actually find out. But there's like, if you're playing the game and you don't know how to get chromatic orbs, you're pretty much fucked, okay? Like, how do you get chromatic orbs? Well, you get chromatic orbs by trading an item with 3 sockets that have to be linked, but each one has to be a different color. So playing the game normally, I would have never known that. I had to watch a full-on guide, 6-hour guide, just to understand that. So why can't the game just tell us like, okay, trading this will give you this, or you get chromatic orbs by trading this thing? Just explain it a bit more so new players can actually understand what's going on and work towards different items. Next up, let's talk about loot filters. Now, PoE technically does have a loot filter, but it's not a full-on loot filter. So let me explain more. In order to get this loot filter, you have to go online, find a YouTube video to understand how the website works, go to this website, create your loot filter, then log into your PoE account, then go back to the website, sync the loot filter to the folder, and load that folder into the game, and now you have a loot filter. So it's not technically, you don't make the filter in-game, you have to use an outside source. Now, same problem with everything with this game, you always have to use an outside source. Why can't they just make a loot filter for the game, which you can customize in-game, and you just load it directly from the game? That would just save time for old players and new players and everyone, and it would just make it way easier. So I think they should do that for PoE 2, and if possible, do that for PoE 1 too. Why not? Now, despite of everything you have to endure to play this game, once you actually fully understand it, you will feel very rewarded, and it will feel awesome to play this game. You will enjoy this game to the fullest once you fully understand it. But in order to reach that point, some things need to change, just to ease new players into the game and just make it easier to understand. But those were my thoughts about PoE. Again, I love the game and I really enjoy it, and I will still be playing it. But that was everything for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.